Hey guys, we are live today with Tony Knittel. That's right. He is here with us today on my show. I can't wait to interview him. Thanks so much for hanging out on the Bone Jar.
Thanks for having me, brother. And so we had to, well, I'll get to that in a bit, but that's where I came in. So I think, I want to say, I don't know what I think that was 2016, if I'm not mistaken. So, because 14 is when I started in the industry, and then I had some time where I did my own podcast, and then that evolved to me going with DRL. So yeah.
Gotcha. So take us back. Let's get rewind in time. How do you stumble upon FPV, drone racing, the whole 9 yards? Take us way back. What got you even interested in this in the first place?
Yeah. So I was a medic years ago in California, and I used to smoke a lot of cigars when I was a medic. I didn't like cigarettes, but I wanted nicotine, so I really wasn't going to get that, any other way. So I was like, I'll try this. So I started smoking a lot of cigars, and I wanted to get off of it, so I started vaping. And I was one day at a vape shop, and I don't familiar with those things with their big old box things. You can puff out a gigantic cloud.
Right.
And so I'm sitting on this lounge couch while I was on shift as a medic, just kind of waiting for calls. We were supposed to be posted within a mile of our original post location, which is pretty much just like a street corner location. So that vape shop was within that mile, and the owners were cool buddies of ours, and so we used to hang out there all the time. And so this guy comes in, and he's got a big old vape, and he notices mine. And he makes a comment to me about the mouthpiece on it. It's like, I can get you a printed mouthpiece that's better than the one you have if you'd like. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, okay, I wasn't gonna be rude. So he says he makes them off a 3D printer, and I'm like, what the hell is a 3D printer? So that kind of stemmed like that. And this was like, 3D printers were like hardly even known about back then. I had them or anything. And so he gives me his number, and he's like, hit me up. I sell them for $5. I was like, okay, cool. So a few days later or so, we're on post at a different location, and I just happened to text him. I was like, hey, I just want to meet up. We can get that exchange going. He's like, yeah. He's like, I don't know where you are, but if you're in the area, you can come by the house. And I was like, well, I told him where I was, and he's like, yeah, come on by. So I happened to be right next to where it was. So I go to his house, and he's back in his shed, and he's like, yeah, just come back to the shed in the back, and that's where I'm at. And I was like, okay, no problem. And he's got all this like drone stuff inside of his shed. And I was like, well, I didn't know what they were. It was like before, they were really known about. So of course I'm like, what the hell is that? And he starts telling me, and he's like, I fly these things, and I'm a sponsored pilot by Horizon Hobby. And so I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I guess he came from the heli background. And so he's like, you got to look it up. Look up some racing stuff on YouTube or whatever. So I did, and I was like, well, I love this. Like, I got to try it. How much is this shit going to cost me? Because I know my wife's going to be mad when I have to buy all this stuff. And so I'm going to have to do this, because this video that I'm watching of these guys flying these drones in the air with LED lights on them through the woods is amazing. Right. So,
right.
He's like, well, I tell you what, he's like, get a practice drone and learn how to fly with it. And then after you kind of learn how to fly and get the grip of it all, and it might take you a few months, or it might take you longer, then you can graduate to the bigger ones. I was like, all right, whatever. So I said, what's it going to cost me for this little starter drone? So I ended up getting, my first one was the what the hell is that brand? It's a little tiny, I got to look it up now. I don't even know. It's a little tiny FPV drone that it's like the Hubsan, but it's not. The Nano QX FPV. So, okay. You guys can look it up, check it out. It's this little tiny little, thing. It's made of very lightweight plastic. It's just like a little toy. And so he he was like, you got to buy some goggles and you got to buy a nice controller. And so my first controller was a Spectrum DX6, and my first pair of goggles were some old Fat Sharks that he had that I bought off of him. And I don't even know what they were. I don't know what model they were, but they were just very basic looking, like early stage. Mm-hmm. And so I bought that stuff and I started flying around this thing, and he was like, it has 3 modes, beginner, intermediate, and kind of, what he called rate mode. And I was like, okay. So he's like, if you start off on this one and deal with it for a while, then the next day I was like, okay, I'm done with the easy modes. I wanted to switch it over to the more hard mode. And so I did, and I started flying around the house and underneath the table, and and 2 weeks later I was like, okay, I'm done with this. Like I need to go to something bigger. I want the next thing already. And so I hit him up and I'm like, okay, I've mastered this thing. I'm ready to move on. And he's like, you haven't mastered it. Like, there's no way. It's only been 2 weeks. I'm like, I had nothing to do. He's like, okay, you can buy it. I'm going to build myself a new one. You can buy mine off me. And this was a QAV 250 by Luminaire. He was like, you can buy this off me. I'll give you the batteries. I'll give you a case with it, extra propellers, all this stuff. Okay, cool. So he does. And within a couple weeks, I'm asking him about like races and how to get sponsored. And he's kind of giving me this whole like slow your roll kind of thing. You haven't been doing this long enough to go do races and get sponsored and do whatever. But I'm thinking, I'm bored and I want to move to the next stage, So I did all the freestyle stuff around my house. It was fun. I want to race. So I ended up finding some races, and I go to the races, and I'm watching people fly these things. And I wasn't actually racing at that time. I was still kind of making sure that I knew how to fly well enough to where I can enter a race. And maybe 2 months later, I decided I'm going to join my first race, and so I did. And I didn't do too wonderful. I mean, I didn't do horrible. I wasn't last. I think I was like 6th or 7th or something like that. I had a blast. It was a great time. And so, I started doing some more races, and then I hit up my buddy and asked him, like, how do you get sponsors? How do you go about doing that? So he's like, you just got to meet people. But he's like, you just started. What are you doing looking for sponsors? It's only been a few months. I think it was 3 months at that point. And I was like, well, I don't care. I just, whatever. I'm having fun. And I'd love to get a sponsor because this shit's expensive and I can't afford it. I'm sorry. You okay with swearing on the show?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Please do.
And so he tells me, you just got to meet people at the races and get to know people. I'm like, okay, so network and sell myself. Got it. Okay, I can do this. No problem. Let's go. So I go to another race and I meet these guys, and they're really nice, and I'm just talking to them, and the next thing you know, we're talking about sponsorships, and we're talking about how races that I've done, and I was going to race today, and so I did, and I did okay, and I think I got 3rd on that race, and so he was like, why don't we get you on the team? I'm like, in my head, I'm busting up laughing because my buddy's like, no way, this isn't going to happen. You've only been doing this for a few months.
Right.
And I was like, oh, fuck it, I'm going to try. So these guys, Space One FPV, ended up getting me on the team, and I got that sponsor. And then the next thing I was working on was this sponsor, which was FPV clothing, which I happened to just meet, online. And this guy, and I messaged him, and worked out a deal. And then that stemmed into a propeller sponsor with APC, which APC didn't have 3-bladed propellers at the time. They didn't. They only made bi-bladed props, and they were predominantly airplane, RC airplane propellers. And so I was working with the guys from APC, and so eventually we came out with our first tri-bladed propeller, and it was horrible. And it was very brittle, and it just didn't do the job. And so we revamped it and whatever. But that stemmed into another sponsor and another sponsor, and then eventually I think I had 6 or 7 sponsors. And so
this is within your first year, first 2 years.
Yeah,
what
no,
are we talking about?
this is within my first
6 weeks.
I think 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 at this point.
Total typical.
It all kind of built up.
Totally, yeah. That happens every day, guys. Yeah.
It just it just built up, over the span. And so next thing I know, I'm in the ambulance on shift one day, and I'm talking to my partner, and we're talking about drone stuff. And I think he was probably just tired of hearing me talk about drones. And so he was like, why don't you start your own podcast? I think that was his way of saying, like, you know, I don't want to hear all this crap. You talk to a podcast if you want to talk about this shit so much. And so I was like, okay, sure, I'd like to do that. At the same time, a fan of mine who had started to follow me on social media on Instagram, he became a buddy of mine. Like, we just started chatting a lot, and he was asking me questions about drones, and he didn't have one yet, but he was really into photography. And so it was like, I would love to do a drone podcast. And I was like, that's really weird that you say that. I was just talking to my partner at work about the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know anything about podcasts. And he's like, well, I do. I actually had a photography podcast at one point, and I ended up shutting it down or whatever. And so he's like, I'd love to do this. And he's like, I don't really know much about drones, but I don't think it's about photography. And, and I do like doing broadcasts and all that kind of stuff. And so I was like, whatever, let's make this happen. So we did. And I was doing podcasts from the corner of my bedroom. Mind you, I'm living with my in-laws at this point. And we're crammed into one little room. We have at that point, Mason was alive at that point. So we have both kids living with my in-laws, and I'm like, I need a podcast area to record. So I'm in the corner of the bedroom, like, tacking this sound shit to the walls. And I think some of it is still from that year. It's just cheap stuff you can buy online, guys. If you ever want, it works really well. You just need a lot of it. Some of it's really good. Like, I've got some better quality stuff up there and over there, but this stuff right here is kind of whatever. So I'm in the corner of the bedroom and doing these little podcasts, trying to get good sound quality out of nothing. Like the microphone was crap, and so I eventually upgraded the microphone and got a better quality one, and the podcast ended up growing to a pretty good standpoint where we were actually pulling in money every single month from ad revenue. And we had sponsors for the shows. Like, we sold packages for the show to different sponsors, and then we would air a commercial of their choice. They can either make their own commercial, or we would do the voice of the commercial for them, and whatever. And so it was actually working really well.
You can still listen to that podcast today, right? I mean, those are still
online. I believe you can. I never took them down. I
found them. There's like 4 years worth, isn't there? There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's like hundreds of episodes.
Yeah. Well, so not all of them are mine, because I ended up turning the show over to him after when I decided to leave. So at the same time that the podcast is doing really, really well, I'm still working as a medic at this point, making shit money, living with my in-laws, doing podcasts out of this time. At that point, I think I was doing the podcast out of the shed. No, I don't know. I'm not sure. Eventually, I got sick of doing it in the corner of the bedroom, and I needed another place. And so we had a shed in the backyard.
It's a better story with a shed anyway. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, there's a shed back there. We're not using it. I'll turn it into an office for me, because I don't have anywhere to do these podcasts in peace and quiet, because my kids are screaming and yelling, and I live with my in-laws, and they're older people who, can't hear, so the TV's blasted, and they're yelling at each other half the time. It's just a family house. It's noisy. You can't do a podcast. So I decided to go to the shed. I actually had power ran out to the shed with a breaker box out there, and literally, had workers hired and came and did it all and ran power out there. And then I insulated the whole thing, drywalled it, put air conditioning in it. And so half of this shed, even though it was drywalled and nice, half of it was still a shed. Like, if you were like, while I was sitting at my
got a
desk,
tractor in here, got a rototiller,
yeah, there's tools,
right?
Yeah, I'm not kidding. There was like almost everything you said was back there. So, and all I did was just which is really funny. Now here I am with this really nice elaborate setup here that I have, and I still have this pull curtain that I use for a crease screen. It's not the same one, but it's a much better one here. So yeah, half of my workspace was a shed, and that was my upgrade. And so at the same time, I was working as a medic, and I wanted to go to the next level of schooling and go back to medical school and get further certifications and advance my medicine knowledge. And so my company was going to do a scholarship to go to school for this, and I jumped at the opportunity because that schooling's expensive, and you have to still make a living at the same time you're going to school full time, and it's rather difficult to do because it's full-time school, and you have clinicals, and you have you've got ride-alongs to do, and you've got your different rotations that you have to do.
They want you to learn stuff. It's important. Yeah, important stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I couldn't do that because it takes up too much time. You can't have a job. So the company was going to give out 5 scholarships to anybody in the company that wanted to apply for these programs. And the company would pay your salary at the same time as pay your school and allow you to do this. It was like the dream come true for me. Right. Like that was it. That was my goal. My goal was never to do drone stuff at that point. It had started to, as the broadcasting stuff kind of built up with the podcast, I more and more found myself telling my wife, one day I'm going to pay the bills with this. I don't know how, but I'm going to do it. Because obviously I wasn't making any money as a medic, but that's why I wanted to go to the next level schooling so I could make more money. I can go from $13 an hour to $15.50 an hour.
Right. Get a bigger shed.
After 2 years of school.
Right.
Ouch. Yeah. So that's what I was like, one day I'll make this work. So I don't know how, but I'm going to do it. So I applied for the scholarship through work, and I was the first one picked for the scholarship. So it was a pretty humbling experience. It was nice. It was amazing. I had to do a bunch of tests. I had to write an entire, I don't know if you call it an essay or what you call it, but basically kind of explaining, what my goals are in life and what I plan to do with this and why I deserve this over the other 600 people that applied. And so they called me up and said they offered me the program, and I was kind of like, oh my God, like this is amazing. I can't wait. The same exact time I had seen DRL on YouTube. Mm-hmm. They had one video of the Gates of Hell location. I don't know if you called it a race or what you kind of called it. It was more of a showing, if you will. Well, the whole concept was they were going to film a pilot episode to pitch to the networks. And so they had put some clips out on YouTube. And I found those clips, and I was doing this podcast, and I was like, that would be really fun to do that kind of broadcasting instead of this kind of on top of this kind of broadcasting, doing the podcast. And so I downloaded that video, and it had my co-commentator, Craig Hummer, who's my commentator now. He was doing the commentation on that video. And I was like, just like everyone else, right? I could do this. I
just talking,
I listened.
Right?
Yeah, I listened to his, to the tape, and I was like, yeah, I could do this. Maybe I can't do that. I could do this. I could do this. And so, I said that. I was really wrong that I couldn't do it because I really could not do it. But I was like, what? I'm going to dub out his commentary, and I'm going to put my own in on top of that. And then I'm going to send them this recording and see where it goes, right? Like everything else, right? Oh, fuck it. See where it goes. Right?
Figure it out. Yeah.
And so I downloaded the video. I commentated my commentation over that, and it was horrible. It was just god awful. I quickly realized I didn't know what I was doing, and I don't know how to do this, and I am not good at it. And so I was like, okay, let's do it again. I do another take. I did another take, and it was just as bad. I think it might have even been worse. I'm not sure. So I decided I'll do another take. And the next thing I know is 37 times I've done this, and it's just 37 takes of shit. It's all bad.
Right.
And the whole point, I was trying to find the good take, it wasn't working out. So I was like, I'll send them the very first take and tell them this is the worst I'll ever be. I can only get better from here. Give me a shot.
Set the bar very, very low, right?
as low as I could. I mean, I backfilled with who I am, and here's my podcast, and you can listen to my voice here, and understand kind of who I am in the show, and I'm not just some jackal who just decided to dub your video off YouTube.
Right.
So yeah.
So don't get any ideas, guys.
Yeah.
Who's right now
no.
downloading and dubbing over? It's not that
Yeah, don't
easy.
do that.
Right.
Yeah. And everyone still thinks they can do this job too, and just like I did, right?
Yeah.
So I send it to anybody I can find online that was associated with something to do with drone racing of some sort on Facebook, and kept sending to pilots, the guys that were flying, or at least the names that I was seeing in the video, right? I'm like, I'll just send it to this guy, and I'll send it to this guy, and I'll send it to this guy, and it's the same fucking message to everybody. I'm so-and-so, and this is what I do, and I want a shot at doing this. And so I think a month later, now fast forward to me getting the offer to go back to medical school. I get this phone call. The same, I think it was same like week. I think it was 2 days later or a day later after getting the medic scholarship to go back to medical school. I get a call from DRL, and they're like, "Hey, this is DRL. We'd like to we heard your audio reel and saw your email, and we'd like to give you a shot and have you come commentate a race for us." And I was like,
no,
who the fuck is this? Like no, like really? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean you want me to do this? Like, I can't afford the plane ticket. And they're like, no, we'll we'll fly you out to New Jersey and pay for your hotel and pay for your food, and we'll even pay you because you're doing a job, right? And I was like, I guess this is the job, right? I didn't think of it that way because I was just having fun recording my podcast, and so it wasn't a job to me. It was just fun. And they were like, "Well, we'll have you come out to this race. It's in New Jersey. So it's at this what was once an abandoned laboratory building. Before that, it was a big, the Bell Labs laboratory building where they invented the transistor radio there. So it's got a well-renowned, story behind the location. And they were going to make this race seem like it was a robot factory because it had a very robot factory kind of vibe to the way it looks inside. And so I show up out there. Mind you, we didn't discuss. All I knew at this point was I was going to go commentate a race for them, and that was all I was going to do. They didn't offer me a job or anything like that. I just wanted to see how I would do. So I was under the impression this was just a one-time thing. So I go out there, and I walk into this building. I don't know where I am. I've never even flown farther than Missouri, across the United States, let alone go from California all the way to New York. And so this was like the first time I really ever traveled anywhere, even on my own. And it was just weird, I was like, I don't know where the hell I am. I'm getting in strange cars because they set up a car pickup, and this was all really weird to me.
They have the guy
but
at the
it was
airport
cool.
with your name with the sign.
There wasn't that wasn't the all I
Right.
I did have to arrange, like I had to go on my phone, set up whatever, and then they would say, okay, we'll have a car will be there,
Sure.
Stand by this area or whatever. And so anyway, so I go to this race, and they're like, come over here, the audience is going to be right here, the race is going to be here, you have a TV monitor here where you can see the race, and do you need anything else from us? And I was like, what do you mean, do I need anything else from you? I know what the fuck I'm doing.
Tell me what to do.
Yeah. And they were like, okay, well, here, take this. This is the ROS. And I was like, oh, the ROS. The fuck's an ROS? Like, I don't know what this is. They're like, it's the run of show. And I was like, what's a run of show? I had no idea. And they're like, I thought you did broadcasting. And I was like, no, I got a podcast.
Right.
I don't know what this shit means, dude. I take some notes before my shows and I set up the shows and I go off of that when I do my shows. And so I was like, I'll tell you what, can I get a Monster and an energy drink? And they're like, yeah, we can get you. I was like, if you can get the white one, that'd be great. And they're like, absolutely. All right, that's all I need. Okay. So a little while later, audience starts showing up, and they bring me my Monsters, and they brought me 2 of them, the big ones with a twist on top. So I was really excited about that. And so so the audience starts showing up, and this lady comes over, and she's like, hey, go do your thing, go start doing you. And I was like, oh, I mean, there's no racing going on. She's like, well, talk to the audience, fill time before hype it up, get it ready to go, explain what's going on. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't even know who these guys are,
I know what ROS is now. You want me to go tell them what ROS is?
Yeah. That's as far as I've gotten, I know what take 1 and take 2 means because I did 37 of them for the 1-minute audio commentary. And so it was just really funny because I didn't know shit. So I was like, okay, I'm going to treat this like comedy hour. And I'm going to talk to these people about the little bit of shit I know. Well, I mean, at this point, I knew quite a bit about drones, and I knew, I was obviously had a well-established podcast at that point. So I did know a lot about the industry. I just didn't know about these people who were flying. So they brought me one of the drones. This was the Racer 2, and you know what? I can grab them if you want me to.
We would love
that.
But
okay, I'll get them in a minute. So it brought me the Racer 2, and they're like, talk about the drone. And I was like, I need to know about the drone to talk about the drone. And they wouldn't tell me anything about the drone because everything was really secretive. They didn't want anyone to know anything yet because DRL is a brand new company and they don't want someone to take their ideas and steal shit. They want to build what they want to build because they had a goal in mind when they first started DRL and what they wanted to do. And they didn't want someone to interrupt that, So they were very secretive about a lot of things for good reason. And I do understand that now. I didn't back then, but now I do. So I said, I'm going to treat this like comedy hour. Why not? Let's just have some fun. So I started talking about the drone, and I was kind of picking fun on people in the audience. I'd ask people, what their names were, start talking to them, and kind of crack a joke here or there, and whatever. So I was just kind of having fun with the audience. And then the racing started, and I started calling this race like an idiot. I didn't know what I was doing. I never called a race. I'm like, yeah, this yellow one's there, and the blue one's over there, and well, that was a crash. I was like, fuck, I was doing. And so
you did a loop,
but yeah, well, I did know drones, so I could speak to the racing, I could speak to the the sport, I could speak to obviously what a pilot feels as being a pilot myself and racing. But these guys are doing it on a stage with lights and cameras, and that I never did that. I raced in these. You guys all know what the races are like in your local areas. You do a race here, you do a race there. There might be. Well, I mean, I lived in California at the time, so they did a little bit bigger races, but and that doing a lot of them. It wasn't multi-GP over there.
What's the set look like on the DRL?
It's incredible, man. It's there you feel like you're walking onto a movie set, and I've walked on a movie set, so because I also did standby medic gigs for a lot of stuff in Hollywood. Living so close to LA, I was able to drive out there in about 45 minutes to an hour, so I did a lot of standby gigs as a standby medic out in Hollywood, in Bel Air, and various areas out there. So I had been on movie sets before, and it felt like I was walking onto a movie set. I mean, there was trusses, there was lighting, there was cables, there was everything you could think of. There's all these important people. At least they look really important as they're walking around frantically all over this place. They look like they might be producers. I'm not sure. And so, but I could see there's a guy, and he's got like a trail of people behind him, so he must be important. They're all following him around. So it's incredible.
Surreal, huh?
That's still what it's like. we run a very, very, very tight ship on DRL. Like there's no time for BS. We don't have time for it. We have everything dialed in to the second. I'm not joking when I say that, to the second, and even beyond the second. You know what I mean? Everything is well timed and planned. A lot of work goes into the prep and planning of making it happen.
How many people are on the team?
It varies depending on what we're doing and where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
If we're doing
to make one,
if we're doing a big time show, there's upwards of 200 to 300 people on set.
Wow.
That's part of all. That's including everyone from stage hands to lighting to cable runners to everyone who builds the stuff. There's a company that builds the gates and stuff for us, and they maintain those, and they have an entire crew of guys, almost like a pit crew of guys, that can run onto the set or the track and literally rebuild something if it gets destroyed by a drone, and do it fast to get the next heat going, because our entire goal of DRL is to grow this sport and make it something that is known everywhere in the world, and that people of all ages can enjoy it and go on this ride that we've always wanted to go on when we were young growing up. We all want to fly, right? I mean, like,
right.
The majority of kids out there, you ask them, like, they want to fly.
Right.
And, we all want to be Superman or whatever flying, superhero character you'd like. We want to fly, and we want to be a bird. And that's look at man and technology and how we've, gotten to that point. We're going to space and shit,
Have you ever flown the drones that they build yourself? Do you get to fly those?
Yeah, I have them.
Cool.
So yeah,
that's so cool. What's the difference? I mean, do they fly do you build yourself? I guess that's a better question.
Not anymore. No,
like,
not
why
anymore.
Would I? I've got a whole team to build for me.
Well, no, not even so. Unfortunately, I wish I had them to my disposal where I could easily just build or have them build what I want. Obviously when I first started, that's all I built drones like crazy. I was built them, crash them, fly them, built them, crash them.
Right.
And after when I got, so let me go back just a minute. I went to New York, and I did that race. At the end of that race, they walked up to me, the producer, the director of product, and the CEO. All three of them walked up to me, which are the three founders, and said, "Hey, we think you did a fantastic job this weekend." It was a 2-day race. I think you did a fantastic job this weekend. The investors loved it. The VIPs loved it. It was a small VIP audience. It was like maybe 100 or so people, maybe 200. I'm not sure. Yeah, they loved it. Everyone loved it. We'd love to offer you a full-time career with DRL. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Does that mean I can quit my job on the ambulance and like afford a house? And they were like, 100%.
More than 15 an hour?
Yeah. That's exactly what I wanted to know. Like how much more? And I was like, can I afford to live? And they said absolutely, and I instantly started crying. Because I felt like I worked really hard with the podcast, and I knew for a while that I wanted to do something in this. I kept telling my wife, one day I'm going to pay the bills, because she would get mad at me when I was buying parts in the very beginning of it all.
Right.
Every time a box would show up, she's like, "How much are you spending on these toys?" And I'm like, "Babe, one day I'm going to pay the bills with this. One day I kept saying that to her.
I'm investing in our future.
And of course, you probably thought I was crazy, just like anything else. But I always had this mentality of like, "Fuck it, let's just go for it." What's the worst? And so, so they offered me that job, and I instantly started crying. And we obviously had to work out the negotiation of the contract and all that kind of stuff. And but at the same time, I had just been offered that scholarship that I worked for years so hard for. It's been 6 years, and all the schooling that I did before that, and I did that schooling when my son was an infant. It was newborn. I got laid off from my previous job as a store manager and a regional trainer for Sears, and at that time it was during the recession, and I got laid off, and a wife and kids, that's why we had to go move in with my in-laws, because we had our own place before that, but I got laid off. So it was a lot of hard work, and so I was like, well, I got these two things. What do I do? And so I talked to my boss, and he said, "Look, if you take this scholarship and you do this and you turn down that opportunity, I'm what you're gonna turn into." And he's like, he's a supervisor.
Right.
He
Wow.
did his time in the field, and now he's older, and now he works on the supervisor rig, and he goes out to calls where there's big incident commands and stuff like that. But it's a lot of desk work. It's not a lot of fun, and you don't make a ton of money. You make enough money to support yourself and your family, but not a ton, and not a comfortable. So he was like, whatever it is with drone racing that you're doing, he's like, that's an opportunity that's knocking at your door. Why wouldn't you take that opportunity? Because the medic side of things will always be here, and you can always come back. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. You make a great point. I'm going to do that. So I talked to my boss again and said, I put in my 2-week notice and I got hired by DRL. And so I was going somewhere, but I had to go back to that, but I don't remember where I was going earlier. Do you know? Because I don't remember.
Well, we were talking about building, and they were building for us.
Oh, right. Okay. So yeah, they give me a drone, but they are. Remember how strict I told you DRL is?
Right.
They are not frivolous with their money, and they're not frivolous with their parts, because those parts cost money. So they do not. They are not like, oh yeah, we can just give the world to you. They would love to, but they are very smart when it comes to business.
Sure.
Our corporate office is just an office full of brilliant minds in that office that are literally making dreams come true for a lot of people, and making history at the same time. So it's pretty amazing that the things they do. So I trust they're going to give me what they can give me, and I'm not going to push them for more. And so they do give me some, and if I were to ask for parts and stuff, they would probably hook me up. I don't really like to do that because the pilots need it more than I do. They need a steady supply. I don't need a steady supply of it. I'm not racing anymore. My job is to be knowledgeable in the industry and share it and build and grow. And I don't need the stuff, as much as they do. So they do give me a drone whenever they've come out with a new one. So the only one I don't have is the Racer 1, but nobody does. There's only 1 or 2 left in existence, and I think they're all under glass in the office.
Right. How do they fly differently than a normal drone? I mean, since you've built and you've tuned drone, and I mean, what?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Very much.
Yeah.
Very much so. They're a lot heavier and they're a lot slower.
Really?
Than you would think. You would think like it's DRL. I watch it on TV. These things got to be, amazingly fast or something, and they are fast, and they're right, but they're not as fast as your probably a 5-incher that anyone here is watching flown. The 5-inches are way quicker, These ones, the DRL rigs are designed and built with everything that we need them to have to do what it is they're going to do and to be seen. Because what fun is watching drone racing if you can't see the drone? Right. So to do that, we got to put a shitload of lights on them and make them glow like the sun. And we want the course environments to have this dark kind of course environment so you can really see the glowing, and it just looks like something kind of out of Prawn, this like space age kind of thing.
Yeah. So cool.
And that's the whole goal. So they're built heavy, but then they did such an amazing job with the engineering team. We have a team full of engineers with various different degrees that know how to build these things, and they did just a fantastic job designing this to do exactly what we wanted it to do. And we wanted it to have a difficulty to the flying. Your average 5-inch, weekend flyer that all of us have, that you can zip around a course in a fly's fart, that fast. It's ridiculous how fast they go. If we can all fly them like that, then we're at the challenge, right? And then it's also just really difficult to watch. You can't enjoy it. It's not a fun race to watch all the time when they're going that fast. You can't see them. So slow them down, but still make them fast, right? I mean, car racing is fast, but it's slow enough to follow, slow enough to put a camera on it. And give them make them have a challenge to them. And if you've ever flown a heavy drone that feels underpowered, but has the just this crazy kind of torque to it, That's what the DRL rigs are. The Racer 2 and the Racer 1, the 2, and the 3. Well, the Racer 1 and the 2 were really not. They were just get the job done to make a drone that would fly. Then the Racer 3 was very, very, a lot of thought went into this thing. A lot of R&D went into it. And we realized how massively important it is to have this thing just be exactly what we wanted and just not be okay with any margin. And so we developed the Racer 4, and it's the thought that went into this thing is just freaking crazy, to make it do what we needed it to do. It goes beyond the normal thought process of what we might think we're building a drone for. You got to think about the big picture of things, right? What are we doing? What are we doing with DRL? We're creating this amazing sport and innovating technology at the same time, and we're sharing it with the world. How do we make this thing the best it can possibly be? We can't just grab something and throw it together. We got to have something that's incredible. Well, how do we do this? How do we show it in the best way? Well, we got to show it like it's a sport or a race, but maybe at the same time it kind of has this reality kind of feel to it. So it has drama. And that's kind of how it started. And then it eventually evolved more on the sports side of things. The natural drama just kind of comes out of it. And now we're doing live broadcast completely, where nothing is, there's no scripts of anything. It's all based off of our team and how well we work together now. But, there's a lot of importance that went into that Racer 4, the design of it, just to make it do what we needed to do, to make it visible on camera, to make it difficult to fly, to make it have challenges where it feels like you're drifting in turns and, that kind of stuff. But it had to have the performance to get itself out of trouble. It had to have the battery life to where it wasn't a problem. And these guys are cranking these things. So
yeah,
it was
I think
a lot of work.
always been the challenge is on TV. I can't really fly with you in the goggles because I'll get sick.
Yeah, sure.
Your average viewer can't watch that or stand that. So it's like, what are they watching? How do you watch that? Because you're right. You go to a multi-GP race and you watch and you're like, you have no idea what's going on as a spectator. You just hear a lot of whizzing and a lot of loud noises and people throwing goggles and and being happy. It's like, what the heck is going on here? So it is interesting. How do you rope that in and make it palatable for viewers, to see? So DRL has done an incredible job of doing that for sure. Do you fly digital or analog? I mean, when you fly for fun, what do you fly?
I fly the Racer 3 or the Racer 4, and sometimes I break out the Racer 2.
Are those digital or are those analog?
They're all analog. No, they're all analog. They're all set up with Crossfire, and I use Fat Sharks. I use the special edition orange ones. They're definitely dated. I do not have a modern pair of goggles because
HDOs
as well as
for you, huh?
No, yeah, and as well as I do. 6 months after it comes on the market, it's no longer modern. Now outdated. And so, I'm still running the orange special edition. But I do have a True DX receiver on it. I've got a patch and I've got a Clover antenna on it. And
have you been in the digital stuff yet? Have you been into a digital setup?
I have. Years ago, before it became as good as it is now.
Like the Connex stuff.
When the Connex first came out, I did some demos with the guys from Rotor Riot at that time, and we did some flying around this on the bridge in Los Angeles. It was a lot of fun. Chad Capper was there, and Chad Nowick was there. Mr. Steele was there, of course. We had a lot of fun, just kind of flying around this bridge, testing out this new digital product, which it was pretty good. I got to admit, I really did like it. I didn't find it at the time that it would be necessary for racing. Obviously the latency has been the biggest problem, I think. And I still don't think we're past that quite yet with the digital side of things. But I think we're right there. I think the industry is just growing so fast and it's getting there that it'll just be a time where it'll be the norm,
How much time a week do you get to fly? Do you get to fly daily in real life or?
I mean, no one's stopping me except for my own work. My job has evolved a lot. I'm not just the broadcaster. I do so many different things with the company. I work from the moment I wake up. I'm usually up by 7:30 in the morning. I have my coffee and I'm at my desk by between 8 and 9, and I'm here all fucking day.
Yeah.
whether I'm working on stuff with the sim, whether I'm just doing community management, whether I'm doing support, tech support, for the sim, whether I'm working on shows, whether I'm, like we're doing the pre-flight shows now too. We've done, which are the specials that we do on Twitter before the show. What the hell's going on back there? Kids are probably getting ready for bed. And so there's so many different things that I'm working on, if I'm working on another show, or maybe sometimes I'm just doing voiceover work for DRL. They a lot of times will send me videos that they want a corporate sizzle over, is what we call it. So it's used to send off to like investors, kind of show off what we do. And so I'll narrate that and do all the voiceover for it. Sometimes we're doing commercials and I'll do the voiceover for the commercial.
So you have a wife that is a saint, I take it.
Yeah, she works her ass off to run this house because I can't do it. I'll tell you that. There's no.
She's a good partner. She's a good partner for you.
She absolutely is. Her thing is, as long as she gets her bits of freedom, that's fine. And we have some good trade-offs during the week. She cooks dinner during the week, and on the weekends, Mama doesn't cook. Mama's not in the kitchen. It's me in the kitchen all weekend long.
I mean, I've been on your Instagram page. You got cooking down. I think you list your life passions as family, food, and then drones. So it's like,
yeah.
Okay,
and I as much as I live and breathe drones, DRL, my family is first, and I need food to be able to love drones. So food comes before that.
Do you have a favorite dish food, or a specialty, something that you're?
I love baking more than I love cooking. Okay, Don't get me wrong.
Okay, sorry. 'Tis the season to be baking right now.
Yeah, I just recently got these glasses, and I'm just not used to having a headset on with glasses. Hold on. All right, that'll probably hold for a while.
Cool.
So I am driving myself crazy. Hold on. I don't know how the hell Craig does his glasses for hours to do this. Anyway, I love baking more than I love cooking, and so I think my number one thing is to make cookies. I love cookies more than anything. I love cookies.
You got a specialty chocolate chip, peanut butter.
I make
cookies. What do you got?
I make a chocolate chip oatmeal cookie, and I also make a chocolate chip peanut butter cookie.
Ooh, okay.
And they are, and I don't want. No, I don't.
You can brag. Brag. Let's hear it.
I don't want. I don't want to sound like a. I don't want to sound like a douche, but I make the best fucking cookies I've ever had. Like, I have, and I'm a foodaholic. Like, I am so passionate about food. I love food. Like, it's not even funny how much I love food, and I'm such a stickler for food. Like, I get pissed if my wife doesn't make something right because I love food so much. And so, I love it, man. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. So anyway,
with all
these two cookies, they are the best cookies I've ever had, and I've never had another cookie that has come close to them. And it took me a long freaking time to master the recipe. The crazy thing is that my chocolate chip oatmeal cookie that I make is better the next day than it is fresh out of the oven.
Well,
yes.
Really?
I have never had a cookie that I didn't want to devour the moment it came out of that oven because I love that hot. These cookies, you don't touch them. You don't touch them for at least the first half hour, because if you do, it's just not like. I'm telling you, man, it took me a long time to get these things right, and I'm very passionate about my cookies.
Well, with all those cookies, how do you stay in shape? I mean, what do you do for exercise?
I sit here at my desk all fucking day. Is what I do.
You have to do something. You don't eat 1,000 pounds with all those cookies. Are you a runner? Are you a bike guy? What do you do? What do you do to keep in shape?
Honest to God, man, I don't do anything anymore. Not this year. I haven't. In the past, I do like to run. Years and years ago in the police academy, we ran 5 miles a day. So, that became instilled in me, and I love running. However, I don't know when the last time I even ran. It's probably been at least 7 months or so. I have no idea.
Well, our hour is coming to an end. It's we got about 2.5 minutes.
Do you only
left.
do an hour show?
I do 1 hour, the bone jar. Yeah,
man.
But no. Please, I'm just gonna mark it at 1 hour and keep it going. So I just wanted wanted to let you know that when you hear it at 1 hour, when I do the little click thing, that's just so that it's 1 hour on YouTube. That's all.
I gotcha.
Cool. So where were we? Okay.
So cooking. I love to bake cookies. That's my one.
That's right.
So she doesn't cook on the weekends. I cook on the weekends, and baking is my big thing. I do like pasta dishes. If you were going to ask me what pasta dishes, or what dish food-wise I like to make most, I do love making pasta dish. I learned it in Saudi Arabia, which is crazy because you wouldn't think that that's where you would learn how to make an amazing pasta dish, but that's where I did. I'm in Saudi Arabia.
Is this a military thing, or why are you in Saudi Arabia? Just on vacation?
No.
How do you end up there? You can't just jump there. Oh yeah, well, I was in Saudi Arabia. I picked this up, and okay.
I just went for a walk, and I ended up there. Right. We had a race there. We had our final race from the 2018 season at NERC 1 was in Saudi Arabia. And we held it at the kingdom out there, so it was pretty neat. It was this big area that they have. It's like this. They're trying to build up this area out there to kind of be this big tourist spot, and it's really beautiful out there. It's right up against the ocean, and it's just really hot and humid. But anyway. They had the hotel we were at was really, really nice. And if you went to go get dinner at the hotel, they had a guy behind the counter who would make a dish depending on what kind of dishes you would want. Like in evenings, dinner times, would have like pasta dishes, things like that. Or if you wanted a steak or something like that, he can cook it all right there for you.
Love it.
Yeah, it was really nice. And so he had this pasta dish on the menu. And I was like, well, that looked just phenomenal. And so I watched him make it. It was just the best pasta I've ever had. And the really cool thing was that the sauce had already been nice and simmered. The pasta had been like half cooked, okay, but maybe al dente, but not quite. And if someone was going to order that, then he would take a pan and he put olive oil in it, and he took once that olive oil got hot, he took the pasta out of the water, like just let it drain for like a quick second, and threw it in the pot, and it was sizzling and popping all over. And he starts adding spoonfuls of this sauce, and he's adding chopped garlic, and he's adding fresh basil and fresh thyme and fresh, and he's just adding all these fresh ingredients to it, and he's shaking the whole thing up. But the whole time he's doing it, he's kind of stirring it around, and he's just got that little bit of olive oil in there, and it's popping, and it's sizzling, and it's pasta, and it's saucy goodness with that fresh herby stuff that's put on top of it. A little bit of fresh grated parm, and just slides that son of a bitch right over to me. And I was like, oh my God. Oh, cut up little cherry tomatoes that were kind of roasted in the pan. Oh man, it was just phenomenal. And so now that is now known as Daddy's special pasta in this house. That's what the kids, when they want, like, what is Daddy going to make?
Treat, right?
Yeah. I don't make it very often for them anymore, because they would ask for it so damn often. And I was like, we got to stop, man. It's special.
You don't want to get burnt out on this. We got to.
And you have to. Yeah. You have to make it one plate at a time. That's the problem.
Right.
Because you're doing individual servings, just like I learned to do that with him. But the pan's not big enough to do this with a family of 4 serving. You would need a giant pan. Like, it's all got to move freely on the pan and sizzle and pop and all that stuff. So. That's the favorite. That's the one I like the most, I think.
What's your wife's favorite dish that she makes? What do you love her to make for you? That's the one that you're like, oh my God, she's making that. That's amazing.
She does a lot of soups.
Ooh.
And she just recently landed on this like taco chili, which is just phenomenal. It's kind of, it has a chili flavor, but it has taco flavor to it too. and it is just a bowl of goodness with a little cream on the top of it. Maybe a little fresh herbs of some sort or whatever you want to put on top too. But cut up green onions. And if you really want to get crazy, you grab a handful of Fritos and you throw them in too.
Oh man.
You just eat it all
Oh
together. And
man.
so
Dang,
that
you are a lucky man, sir.
so I mean, so you asked how I think the way I stay the thinnest the most. We're vegan in this house. All we eat are vegetables. So there's not a plant we don't. That's all we eat.
There you go.
I don't eat any meats. I don't eat dairies, cheeses. All the cheeses and stuff that I've described are all vegan versions of it. But I'm not here to talk about that. But I think that's probably the way we stay the thinnest. It's just we cook everything, and like all of our meals are pretty much cooked every day. So
Fresh
it's a
food.
pain in the ass. Yeah, but it's fresh.
It's not out of a box, right?
It's not. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the secret to life, right there, my friend.
Yeah, it's just
eat real food.
It takes more time, but in the end, I think it's just a better meal altogether. So,
where do you think your passion for this comes from? I mean, you have an endless well of energy for this, and it's so awesome to see. I can see why the DRL picked you. I mean, you're just immediately infectious, and you have that drive about you. You glow when you talk about DRL. Where does that come from? Where
I don't know.
Is your passion? What drives you though? I mean, when you get up in the morning, you're like, man, it's the same grind. It's a long day. It's never gonna end. What makes you go, I'm going to do this so awesome. This is going to be awesome. And put 1,000% into it, because you can't do that job, 50%. You can't do it at 90%.
Yeah.
You got to do it at 120 every day.
I think I have a goal in mind for my family. Like it's something that I have. To me, I think it comes from the adrenaline rush that I get when I'm in a race. I'm just trying to backtrack in my mind before I'm saying the words and spitting them out at the same time. But there's a family element to it, but there's also a passion of the sport behind it as well. To me, that freedom of flight is special to me. I suffer from ADD. I don't have the hyperactive version of it, but I do have the ADD where it causes my mind to be a lot of scrambling going on. So you can probably tell the way I talk, very here and there.
I think we all have ADD now.
Yeah, well, you know what? In the way things are with technology and how everything is given to us, at the moment's notice. If we don't get that, it gets to that point. But this has been ongoing, since I was a kid. So for me, things that stimulate me don't stimulate me; they calm me down. And so, I didn't really believe it, but I started to listen to my partner at work, and I discovered this while I was a medic. And we were just we get to know each other. I mean, you become family with your partner at work. You live with that guy for 60 to 70 or 80 hours a week. It's just you and him, and it's you and him dealing with the worst shit in the world. So he becomes family, And at one point we were talking and he was like, you probably get checked out for ADD. And I was like, why do you say that? And he's like, well,
I've been hanging out with you for quite a while.
Yeah. He's like, because you have it. Right. And, I can tell that I can see what it does to you. And, I was like, really? I didn't never thought I did. Never even thought about it my whole life. And so, I go see a doctor, and I go see a therapist, and they send me to a psychiatrist. So I talk to them. So sure as shit, classic ADD. Who would know? I didn't. And so they tried a few different medications for me, and eventually I found one that worked really, really well. My insurance was really good in California, so I was able to afford it. Now I don't have the insurance that I wish I had, and so it's so expensive I can't afford the medication. But the reason I bring this up, because flying for me makes my mind go from this thought, that thought, this thought, that thought, this thought, that thought. I'm going back over here. I'm over here. I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about that. I'm going over here. I'm stopping over here. I'm going over here. Like my mind is constant,
Mm-hmm.
it just doesn't stop. And when I flew for the first time, it was quiet in my head. It was just me flying.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that I had an issue, I wonder if I lived my whole life if differently. If I would have known from the beginning that I had this and was able to do something about it, what would my life have been? And so it was emotional for me that I was able to feel that feeling that I've never felt before. And then so eventually when I ended up getting on medication for it, the first time I took the medication, I had the same feeling. And I talked to my wife about it, and I was like, is this what it's like to be normal? And she's like, yeah, and that was hard for me to deal with, like it was difficult to know that my mind, it's chaos every day. And I could be experiencing something very different, but I'm not, and so it was difficult to hear that. It was difficult to learn that. But it was great to experience the whole thing because I think it made me who I am, and it is who I am. I'm a chaotic mess, and at the same time, I'm willing to do anything. And I think if I didn't have that mentality, I wouldn't be that way. So that feeling that I got from flying is where the passion comes from. That's where the passion comes from. But the day-to-day of getting up and doing what I do, that's my family, I think. My goal is to build an environment for my family that we can one day be comfortable. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. We're on the way to there. I want to be able to get to a point where if my kids see something in the store and they ask me for it, I can say yes, because I can't right now. I don't. I make a good living for my family, but I live a very tight budget.
Sure.
And so, that's the goal. So that's the daily. We do this for the family, but the passion comes from that first flight, that feeling, understanding me in a different way than I have ever understood myself. But that's where it comes.
That is such an awesome, amazing story that you just shared. And I hope I know somebody's somebody just commented, dang, that's deep. A lot of people are going to see this and relate to it. And a lot of people are going to say, maybe that's me. Maybe I should go and look into this. And who knows, Tony, whose life you just changed and whose path you just, forever changed. So that's an awesome thing that you shared with us, and I deeply appreciate it from my heart. So thank you for sharing. That's such a interesting perspective to actually hear quiet for the first time when you're flying in such a chaotic, like this is do or die. And it's like, that's when everybody else's mind is going a million miles an hour. What am I doing? And yours is calm. And I love that.
It's quiet. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. So beautiful.
I shared that, with my fans on my podcast years ago, and I would get quite a bit of letters, written in, saying exactly that, there's people out there that didn't realize that they have this going on, and that it helps. And it's not just ADD. Look, it's depression, it's anxiety, it's social disorders. I mean, fuck, like think about all of us that hang out together on a daily basis, in the DRL Discord. We're all introverts. We're all weird. We're all nerds. We're all just odd characters.
Proud to be.
But it's okay. Like, fuck yeah, man. Own that shit. Like, I'm a fucking weirdo, dude. Like, like I'm just a weird guy, and that's okay. Be weird, be you. And I think that, that if we can continue teaching that to everyone, then I think the world will be better,
Yeah, I think being authentic is the one thing that is coming around to being cool again, and I like it when that pendulum switches back over, and I think that's really cool. That's something that's awesome.
Yeah.
Where do you see the sport in 5 years? Where's this whole thing going? Because I got into this 4 or 5 years ago, and I thought in 5 years everybody will own a drone, everybody will be flying, everybody will have goggles. This will be at Target. You will be able to go buy Fat Sharks. Because everybody will be flying. Now, 4 or 5 years later, I'm hearing, is it dying? Is it, is the sport growing? Is it dying? All that you hear on the forums all the time. Where do you think, look in your crystal ball, 5 years from now, where are we?
Yeah, we have a very we have a very toxic world that we live in right now with the internet and social media.
Yeah.
And it's such a weird battle of like how amazing it is, but at the same time, it's just so freaking toxic and just cause someone to kill themselves, like,
Yeah.
and I say that seriously. I don't
Yeah.
say that it's a joke.
Yep.
It's just
Unfortunately.
unbelievable. And so you're gonna see those people who are saying like, "Oh, the sport is dying." No, here's what's happening. They're trolls. The sport's dying for them. Their passion or their drive has ended. They are moving on,
Mm.
and they are not. They didn't get what they came to look for, and that's okay, because not everyone. It's not for every single person, but everybody can enjoy watching it or experiencing it, or even sharing the knowledge. But let's be real. Uh, Technology is the future. We all know that. It's not a secret. It's not anything new. And the way things are moving, well, we've already decimated the Earth land space. What's next, right?
Yeah.
The
Well, the
airspace.
ocean
And
the ocean is filling up pretty fast with garbage right now.
yeah, that's true, right?
So,
Yeah, but I mean, look at our world and how it moves, and like drone technology is growing crazier and crazier. And so I think, 5 years from now, it's going to be, this exponential growth that we had from the beginning to now.
Mm.
It's just going to continue that ramp, and it hasn't like it's in no way, shape, or form dying. Our ratings are better than they've ever been. Our sponsors are fantastic. Like things are working, and like it's just proof. Like I don't know how else to say it. So if there's someone out there that's saying this, why is it dying? They are 100% false. It is growing and innovating daily basis into technologies that we have never fucking thought of. The things that we were working on with T-Mobile, and I don't even know what they are, but I've only gotten the little shred of information, and it's like, what does this all mean? Because there's I don't need to know everything that DRL is working on or plans to do in the next 5 years. I need to do what I came here to do, and I'm going to keep doing that. And so I trust that they are going to be the professionals they are and lead us in that direction, and they have done nothing but that. So everything has gone, in this upward trend. I don't know where this notion of things dying is coming from. I think it's just that some people out there have found things to be difficult, or they've hit a hurdle in life, and that happens with all of us. We all hit hurdles. We all stop what we're doing and just kind of go sit in the corner by ourselves. And I'm using that term loosely. I'm not literally saying, I'm using it figuratively. But we kind of take ourselves away from these areas in life when things get difficult, and we kind of work on our own things in our own ways, and then eventually we find our way back to the things that we enjoy. And some people find that maybe they had a goal to become a professional pilot because they saw it on TV, and they find that it's difficult to get that. It's not that difficult. It just requires you to do the same thing over and over to get better until you get to that point that you're there, and until you finally realize here.
Right.
And it's not difficult. It just requires time and repetition and discipline. And that is difficult. You know what I mean? Like that's the difficult part, having that discipline. And a lot of people don't have that, or they don't realize that they have it. They do have it. They can do it. They just don't realize it. So that's what's going on with those folks.
Does DRL share any goals with you guys, or where they're heading in a few years? Do they kind of give you a little bit of a glimpse into what what their end game is, or what are they trying to accomplish?
They do. The one amazing. I've worked for a ton of. And if anyone knows me like personally, I worked for a ton of different things. I've sold jewelry. I've sold alarm systems. I've sold cell phones. I worked at a grocery store. I worked at a Lowe's. I worked at Sears. I managed a Sears. I was a regional trainer.
Save people's lives.
I was a medic. I was a police officer for a short time.
Right.
There's tons of different things. I did marketing. I've done a bunch of different things, and I've worked for a bunch of different companies. And one thing I've learned is that the companies don't give a shit about you. A good majority of them. DRL is the 100% opposite. They are a 180 turn in a just the freshest, most amazing way possible. They care so much about the people who work for them. We're all like family, and we all set these incredibly difficult goals for ourselves in the company. And every single one of us, I think, gets to this point where we just feel like there's no fucking way we're gonna do this. Why did we accept this? And we just make it happen. Every time we realize what we need to do, and we realize that we're all gonna have to work our asses off way more hours than we probably wanted to, but it's gonna be worth it in the end because we're gonna conquer this thing. We're gonna make history. We're gonna do it, and it's happening. So
Are
it's
they
been
are they
crazy.
gonna merge with like a multi GP, or are they gonna? I mean, what's the association right now with DRL and multi GP?
I don't think that we don't have any special relationship with MultiGP at the point. We did have a little bit of an agreement with them in the past, and we decided that we're going to go different ways, and that's okay. And things worked out well, and both sides of things. But we have nothing against GP or any other
Sure.
league out there, or any other. We love the idea that the sport is not just here. We're not trying to take anybody out or anything like that. But I speak highly about the other sims. I speak highly about the other leagues. I speak highly about people from all over the industry. We're all doing the same thing. We're all trying to share this passion, this love for the sport that we have. Why would I want to shit on someone for doing that?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Do you think the DRL will
yeah.
ever be opened up for like, a general league type of a thing where, you could have a local DRL club type of a thing that like a feeder system that feeds into a professional type of a setting?
You're breaking up quite a bit. I don't know if it's
Oh.
me. It could just be me.
I was asking if you were thinking. Let me check my feed here real quick.
Packet loss. I'm running a speed test real quick just to make sure. I don't. It shouldn't be us. I mean, everyone's off the. You know what? It could be me.
Yeah, because I'm actually running fairly decent stream. Looks like I haven't dropped any frame rates yet.
I think we're. Yeah, it's loading a little. No, we're good now. I think it was just a little hiccup or something.
Cool.
I didn't restart the PC before I started, but anyway.
Yeah, I was asking.
yeah,
I don't know if you can hear me. If DRL is ever going to open like a league up to where the common pilot could go and fly in a DRL club, and then that be a feeder system to kind of feed into a professional thing, like a minor league to major league system.
That's a great question, and I don't have the answer exactly.
Could you find out and get back to us on it? No, I'm just
I don't.
kidding.
I don't know.
Do they have that vision? Are they thinking that way?
I don't want to say yes and I don't want to say no, because it's not like nothing's off the table for our thought processes and how we kind of work about things. But we have had those conversations about whether or not that was somewhere we wanted to go, and it has to make sense for business.
Mhm.
Is it going to cost us a ton of money, and is it not going to be a smart business decision?
Right.
Or is it going to cost us a ton of money and going to be a great business decision because it's going to help us grow or whatever? What is the goal? And right now, I don't think that that's something we're looking at currently.
So would it be safe to say that DRL is kind of more of a production TV company type of a thing?
No, not at all. I mean, look, we're three companies in one. We're a sport, right?
Right.
We're our own broadcast media company.
Big
do
time.
all of our own in-house.
Big time.
And we're a technology company.
Right.
Yeah, and we're a technology company. We're innovating technology. We're working on things that I'm not allowed to speak of that
Sure.
that are going years out from now.
Awesome.
So there's a lot of amazing technology that we're working on and partnering with and dealing with, and I can't go beyond that, unfortunately, but there's a lot of plans with that side of things. Of course, the sport is
exciting to hear.
Yeah, it's amazing the stuff that the DRL is working on. But and of course that we want the whole goal was to get to a point where we could get fans to enjoy drone racing and learn about drone technology and grow. We have STEM programs for kids. That's why we have the DRL Academy with Chris Bosch, a 2-time NBA champion, and that's why he's doing those with kids all over the nation, doing these STEM programs and getting kids involved. And a lot of colleges, high schools that deal with drone technology and have classes we work deals with them to be able to use the DRL sim as a training tool in so many different ways. And so,
Really,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
really cool. So like in public schools or like colleges or where was that at? I mean, that is awesome.
it's I mean, it's all over. We get hit up pretty often for different colleges that have drone technology classes of some sorts, and they want to use our sim, and so they contact us, and we work a deal with them, and they can use the sim to teach their students. And
I think when
we used to have.
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't want to cut you off. Go ahead.
I was gonna say we used to have this guy who, when I was doing my streams, my own personal streams on Twitch, for DRL, but they were really for me to have fun with the community, but we kind of also, you know, not say promote, but have fun with the DRL sim, and this one guy who was a college professor who had a class, drone technology student, he would use them to teach them, like different types of technology with sciences involved in like the aerodynamics of things, so forth. And so they would use the sim quite often, and they would fly with us while I was doing a Twitch broadcast before. And so it was kind of fun to have them on there with us every once in a while. You'd see the students pop in. They'd all have like the student name because they had so many different accounts. They're all labeled.
Right.
So, but yeah, we have a bunch of different schools all over the nation that now use the sim to teach technology, teach flight, and all that kind of stuff.
That is crazy. I had no
Yeah.
idea. The DRL has been such a wonderful ambassador for droning and to get the word out there. And I sometimes hear pilots or other people say, there's only 13 or 15 people in the league and all that. And it's like, who else is out there doing this? Who else is out there exposing it on national TV platforms and telling the world about it? I mean, I think they've done so much to spread the word on how cool it is. And now when I'm out in the park flying, I often will hear, "Oh, is that like on TV? Or, are you practicing for a race? That kind of thing." Because
it's
that's
working.
that's where they've been exposed to it. And you think about it, where else would you ever see it besides that annoying kid at the park? And they don't realize what's going on. Half the time they don't understand even that goggles you're in pilot view. They just don't get it. They're like, "How do you see the drone inside of there?" All the crazy questions. So when you fly out in the public, do you fly out in a park, or where do you fly when you go out?
No, I haven't. I'll tell you, man, it's disappointing how little I fly now. I hardly ever get out. I'm so busy with the work stuff that I do, and if it's not work, it's my family. And so there was a time when I neglected my family just for when at the very beginning to fly drones and to practice, and it was we had a conversation. My wife and I had a conversation. I was like, okay, I mean, every moment that I have that's spare, I'm going to use to fly, and it's going to be a goal. It's going to get somewhere, and then it did. And I think, and I didn't really mention that earlier, but a lot of work went into the amount of time I was flying when I first started, and I think that's why I was able to advance so quickly, because it was just nonstop. If I wasn't working, I wasn't with my family. I was dealing with flying or fixing a drone or doing something, whether there was a podcast too. So,
what do you think the learning curve is on that for that brand new pilot who's flying in the sim right now, going, "I'm going to go get my first drone"? What do you think?
It's so much easier.
Yeah, isn't it? Isn't it easier to fly in the sim now? Like,
Oh man,
I was totally backwards, right? But
we didn't have.
Right.
We didn't have sims when I first started. I
go crash it.
I don't. Who was that very first one? I think it was Freerider. It was the first one that I had seen, and I think there was some other shit brand kind of. I don't want to say shit brand. That's probably the wrong choice of words, but like it was not meant to be a drone simulator, but someone had created this like digital kind of 8-bit kind of program that simulated flight in some way or another, but it was just horrible.
Right.
I don't remember what it was, but Freerider wasn't even out yet, and that was the first one I think that came out. But it was such a pain in the ass to try and connect your controller to it and use programs to make it work. And now it's just so much easier, and it's not just us, right? I mean, there's so many different sims in the market. It's amazing because you can get them all for relatively cheap.
Yeah.
And you're still saving money than you would if you're crashing drones, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
and you can fly all of them and get good at all of them for a fraction of the cost from your own home. Most people have a computer or a console, or whatever. So it's just a lot easier. And then that it translates. Like the flight mechanics are the same. The people who tell you I flew the sim and it doesn't fly like that in real life, they're not using this. They're not using the brain.
Right.
Stop trying to make it feel exactly like real life, because it's not real life. These people realize this, but the Sims real life. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you a secret. It's a fucking video game, guys.
What?
Okay, it's not going to be
Millions of minds have been blown.
Yeah, right. So it's a virtual world, right? It's this computer monitor screen that I'm looking at right now is not the same screen that's in the goggles, right? The view in here is never going to be exactly to that of real life.
Right.
Depth perception in a virtual world is extremely hard to grasp for our minds. It's very difficult. You can't judge how far something is in this virtual world, right? I don't care how good you think you are. You can't just be like, oh, that's exactly 3 feet right there. But I can tell you right now from here to that desk that is exactly 3 feet, and I guarantee you I'll be close if I got a tape measure. But I can't do that, and I can't do that in a sim. Don't even. I swear to God, Valkyrie, talk about VR. You can't judge that. So you have to make your mind understand that, and then you have to go, okay, I'm past that. I get I can't judge the distance the exact same way I can in real life. Fly the fucking game, right? Just fly it. Just stop bitching about whatever it is you're thinking about and just learn and fly.
Right.
And I think when people do that, they go, oh shit, you're right. I can take these skills and go do them in real life. Yeah. Because you absolutely can. And I learned that at one point in flying on sims, because remember, I didn't start with a sim. So I didn't have that notion of like, you need a sim to start with. I wish I would have had it, because I would have saved a fuckload of money,
Definitely.
So once I was flying in the sims, and I was like, you know what, I could do these crazy shit in the sims. I should be able to do that in real life, no problem. And I was like, why have I always felt like I couldn't do that? Whatever it was. And then I went outside and I fucking did it. I was like, oh, okay. I never did it in real life before this, and I had every bit of confidence to just execute it, and I did it. And it was like, oh, okay, I can. Oh, that's what sims do.
Yeah.
And so, it's just so much better nowadays, because you can start there and grow just exponentially in the industry. So I think that people who are starting out now, it's so much easier, and you can absolutely do it. It does require some discipline, but that's everything in life, right? If there's anybody out there that's like, oh, there's no way, like I watched DRL on TV and there's no way I can get to that point. Yes, you absolutely. There are guys on DRL right now who literally, who thought that way, who they were like, oh, I couldn't do that. And then they said, no, I can do that. And they worked their ass off and put in the practice and put in the grind, and they did it and over and over and over until, guess what? They're here. Amari, Heads Up, Sky. I mean, those guys, TC, Collision, they're not the veterans. They're the new people, right? Miwo, right? Those guys are the rookies. They watched the other guys like Jet and Gab 707 and Johnny and Night Fury back in the day. They watched those guys race on TV and said, I want to do that. Did. You can do it. And we are making more and more ways for you to be able to do that. With the simulator, it's just one way, but you have all these other amazing leagues that are out there as well. All of them, they all give you opportunities to fly and make yourself known. And we look at that too, right? We look at the pilots from those leagues too and say, look, this guy's putting in the effort. He's putting in the work. He's getting himself on the podiums. He's out there flying in the fields at the races. He's doing everything that we want in a pilot, someone who has that discipline and that drive to keep their skills up, to be the best of the best of the best in the world. So of course we're going to look at that, right? And that's all tons of opportunities. Then we have the sim side of it all, and you've got chances with not just us, but there's other amazing sim leagues out there that are doing races that, trust me, we look at those guys, we know what it takes to put in the work and the ethics, everything else that goes with it. It's difficult. That's what we want. So yeah, it's way easier nowadays.
Yeah, big time. I I'm so glad that it's opened up a lot for more pilots to get into it. The barrier for entry is so much lower than it used to be. I mean, how many power loops did you do and destroy your drone before you figured out a power loop? You know, it's like right into the ground. Oh, there goes another one. Right into the ground. There goes another one. I mean,
just over and over.
To sit there and be able to do it in a sim until you're confident and get that muscle memory in your fingers it's everything.
Yeah.
Today, Tombo won the track layout for Christmas, right? He was our big winner today. Talk about the track layout. How do you lay out a track? What's the thought process when somebody sits down? What should they be thinking about? How intimidating is it to make one of those tracks? I mean, what I saw, you ran through them today and they were gorgeous. I saw some amazing ones that, the peppermint one was so good. They were all great. Give some track tips, some track editing tips here.
So the amazing thing that these guys are doing is they're not just making a track, right? They are making a map. That's hard to do, because it's one thing to have an existing environment and go, okay, I can see the matrix in this environment and know how I'm going to fly this course, right? You kind of just, as you fly drones more and more, you learn what a race line should look like. You learn like, oh, I can go from over there to over there by going through here. Oh, that would be a lot of fun, right?
Yep.
But when you don't have that environment, you have to see the track before you build the environment, or you have to build the environment, hope that you put something in there that people could make a line with, right? Race line. But if you're building a track and you want, we're just talking about track, not the map environment. Track.
Right.
Because the map environment, I think we could just use our imagination, just like we did with Legos when we were kids, right? How do we build some Legos? When we started building, so I want to make a McDonald's. My brother and I did that when we were kids. We made a McDonald's out of Legos. It was horrible, but it was a McDonald's. It had drive-through and everything.
Yeah, I love it.
And so, you build the environment, and then you decide how you want to do this track. You got to look for that flow, right? The way I would design tracks when I first started with DRL and started designing tracks, a lot of the tracks in the sim that I started designing was an environment that was already there, and I would fly this freestyle environment. And I would just feel the environment out as I was flying. And I would just kind of understand like where I want to go, what I want to go through. I'd look at things as I'm flying around and just kind of go, that looks neat to fly through. Let's make a line through that. And I kind of go back and fly through that section. Mm-hmm. I go, okay, where do I go from that? I'm like, okay, well, if I really like this, I can go from that, and that'll bring me over to here. Then I can go from here, and then I kind of look at that section and go, okay, does it flow? I'm just going to run this one little small section over and over. Does it flow? Do I feel like I can go from one obstacle to the next? Feel like I am in this exciting environment that keeps me action-packed and having fun.
Right.
And so that section leads to then designing another section that can use, and you just kind of keep hoping that it kind of brings itself around. Or at one point you start to get to a point in the track where you're like, okay, I got to figure out how this goes back to the start of the race. And I tried doing it the other way, where I would like get a paper, try and draw it out and kind of understand like, how do I want to make this? Do I want it? It's just as a drone pilot, you got to feel the environment. I think that's why, some of our tracks was just so fun, because, I've been able, when Travis started with us, that's FP Vegan, who designs all the tracks nowadays, all the tryouts tracks in the past, not all of them, but the past couple seasons have been designed by Travis. The Sim Cup racing series was designed by Travis, by FanDuel. Of course, this season it's all designed by Travis as well.
I did not know that. That is cool.
Yeah, when he first started with us, he wasn't doing track design. I was doing track design, and he was doing more marketing sides of things. Then he started helping out with the streams, building the community up, and eventually he started designing tracks at that time. I mean, and so I was kind of giving him, my thoughts of what I was doing. But lo and behold, he already had these thoughts, because he was a drone pilot as well. So he kind of had this feeling of what he wanted to do. And so the two of us just kind of came together with our thoughts, and it just started making these amazing tracks. And it's done so well that he's able to kind of take that vision and see it even farther, and like really think about the camera placements on the tracks at the same time as designing a track. So we're no longer designing a track just based on flight as a pilot. We're designing it based off of audience viewing pleasure and how do we give these people the right camera angle to capture the race in the most appealing way. We've really kind of changed the way we think about track design from flying an environment and having fun through it to giving an experience to an audience. Like, can't just build a track and go, okay, now that we have a track, let's figure this out with the cameras. It's like, no, we got to think about this as we go through it to make sure that it's right. And I think that's what we've done really well, really well with, is giving these people this great view of a race and being able to see the action in the whole race to where it makes sense and you don't feel confused watching.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's very intimidating when you look at the track editor and you think, what am I going to do? How do I do this? You know, and I think that is such a great way to think about it is, how would you fly it? What line would you want out of this?
Yeah.
You know, and what are you trying to accomplish? And I think that's the better approach to it. I love it.
Yeah.
What's your biggest success in life? What do you really hang your hat on and go, you know what? That made me accomplished. That's what I wanted to do.
I love my truck.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a nice one.
But it's not. I'm being sarcastic.
I know.
I do love my truck, but that's not.
So.
That's just a typical guy answer, right?
Yeah. It's a damn good truck. It's got a gun rack.
I don't think I've hit my biggest achievement yet. You know. For sure, I have bigger achievements to go after. But as for so far up to this point, that's a good question. There's a lot of different things that come to my head. I think my wife and I being able to give people a child has been probably one of the most amazing things that I think we could have done. My wife's had 5 kids, 2 of which are ours.
Moly. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
only 2 of which are ours. She has always had this drive to want to help somebody that couldn't have kids. And so I think it came from her. She had a coworker at work that was having trouble having kids, and she always just kind of had this thought in her head. It's like, I would love to be able to do that for them, to help them. And I was like, you're fucking crazy. No, you're not giving a kid to somebody. Like, you're out of your mind. And she's like, no, we're not giving them our kid. It's their kid. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, babe, it's their bun. It's my oven. We're just baking the bun and giving it. I'm like, oh, why didn't you just say so? And so, amazing. my goal in life is to help people. And that's why I ended up going to become a medic. I wanted to help people. And I feel like, being able to do that was the biggest achievement of my life. Being able to bring a human being back to life was pretty fucking wild.
Yeah, that is cool. That's cool. That's up there. Yeah.
And I remember the first time I did it, I was like, wow, that worked. Like, fuck, that's pretty cool.
Thank me later.
But, yeah. Like, hey,
yeah, right on.
Way to
that
go.
Worked. Right on.
You're back. Okay, I'm gonna go get a bite to eat. I'll catch you later.
Stoked. Yeah.
Yeah. We're both stoked. Yeah. That was the biggest achievement, is being able to help someone in that way, and it was an unbelievable feeling that you brought a life back to life, right?
Yeah.
And so I never wanted to stop doing that, because that feeling is like, it's like adrenaline rush that you've never felt before. It's not adrenaline rush because it's different. It's different.
I could never imagine that.
Yeah, like when you watch someone's life leave them, it's a weird feeling, and it's a weird way to look at them and go, okay, well, I got to fix this. Let's go to work, and then you watch that life kind of come back, and it's just the weirdest thing. So my wife wanted to, she wanted to help someone with a baby. And I was like, you're crazy. Like, we're not doing that. I'm like, we already had 2 kids and those pregnancies were fucking hell. And, it was pregnancy, it's not at that time.
Oh, it's not fun. It's
It
not fun.
was
No.
not, there is enjoyable moments. There are beautiful moments, of course. But I mean, it is not an easy thing to do. Like, women go through a lot.
Yeah,
And the men go through it with them,
the beautiful part. That's about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How you got there. But that's about
and
it.
so, it is an amazing feeling when you have a child and you bring a life into the world that wasn't there originally. Right? It's one thing to have one life that's there, leave, bring it back, but it's another to create one like self.
Right.
So she wanted to do that, and so I was like, who am I to stop her from following this dream? Because I got to help people in my way, and she never stood in the way. She only supported me and backed me up while I was making $10 an hour working in an ambulance, running 911 calls at just pennies.
Right. Ordering parts.
Ordering drum bar. Right. She
me.
never got in that way, and she always supported me. So I was like, why would I not support her and what she wants to do to give back to this world? And so I said, let's do it, And so we did. We looked into it, and it was really confusing at the beginning, and I didn't really understand it all. But eventually, it worked out, and we ended up having a baby for this couple from Brazil. Both of them are school teachers. They live in Brazil, and they can't have a child. Their bodies just don't allow them to. So they have tried, in vitro fertilization. They've tried all the different methods that they could do personally themselves to try and a child, but they couldn't. And so they looked into a surrogacy program. And so my wife, she found a surrogacy center and did some research on them, and really liked, the kind of people they were and what they stood for. And they paired us up. We built a profile, and everyone who's potential surrogate builds a profile and gives them all this shit. We got to go through all this background check information and make sure you're not like assholes and all that. And so the other people who are trying to have babies, they're doing the same thing. So they send us profiles, and then they send our profiles to other people. It's kind of like a dating app, right?
Right.
And so we look at their profile, and we're like, I don't like them. No, I'm joking. It's not.
They're not worthy of our baby.
Fuck
no
them.
baby for you.
But no, there are certain parameters that you want to make sure you're on the same agreement,
absolutely.
right? Like, what happens if we know ahead of time while she's still pregnant that the baby is going to have some kind of life-bearing illness or ailment to it, right? What if it's going to have some kind of debilitating towards its life? Are we okay? Does the parent, do they want to have the life terminated, or do they want to continue? And for us, we have this mentality that if you want to make a child, you start to make a child, you get the child. So we're not terminating anything unless it's going to cause detrimental issue. Like, it's going to cause them, like, if they're born, they're going to be brain dead. You know what I mean? Okay, well, why would I want to, just take care of this? That kind of
heavy
so
stuff.
we have these it's really deep shit. So you got to think about all those. You have to be on the same page, because these people have to be on the same page with you. And so we found this couple, they couldn't have kids, and so we did it. And now they have what we call baby Hot Wheel. And so the reason we say that is because my son, when my wife was pregnant with their little boy, my son was really little, and my wife was laying down in her big old belly and laying his head on her belly, and she said, what do you think they should name the baby? And he was like, Hot Wheel. And so like from then on, that baby's nickname was Hot Wheel, and to this day, like, we still call him Baby Hot Wheel or whatever. And he's now years older. He's much older now, and she's done another one of these. So she's now had she had that child for them, and she's had twins for a gay couple actually in London.
Amazing.
Yeah, and so I actually got to hang out with them when we went to London for DRL for the London Championship. We were in the process with the surrogacy from these guys who lived in London. So that we actually got to hang out, and did a bunch of sightseeing and touring stuff with them, and just really got to know the guys on a personal level, which was just a phenomenal experience. But yeah, so we had a set of twins for them. So I think that's probably
Yeah, I mean, you brought people back to life, and you've helped bring people into the world for other people. I think that even the fact that you mentioned those, I mean you win. You got the best accomplishment.
I don't want to win. I want to inspire.
I'm kidding. Well, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but where are you in 5 years from now? Where's your goal? Where's your career in 5 years?
Well, I can tell you where I'll be in another 2 months. We're selling this house, and we're buying another house at Boone Lake.
Congratulations! That's a huge thing.
Yeah, it's nice. This house has been wonderful for us, but it's not the biggest. I mean, this is my office, and right outside this door to my right over here is the front door. And those are the stairs that go upstairs to the, and they're right on the other side of this wall is the living room and the kitchen. And like, it's like right here. Like, I am like in the middle of the house. There's no, if
right.
Kids, if they're anywhere in this house, I can hear them from this office, and they can hear me. And I'm very loud when I broadcast. You have to use a broadcast voice, and you have to really kind of, pull a voice out to really make it carry and get those good, vibrato effects from your voice. And it's loud as shit in this house when I do a commentary. Nobody can sleep. So in the days that we have live shows that are later in the evening, no one's sleeping until I'm done because it's just loud. So the new house will have a guest room downstairs, which we don't have a guest room in this house, and we live in Tennessee. All of our families from either California, Texas, or Missouri, and so we want to be able to have people to be able to come over because we can't afford to go anywhere because we're a family of 4 with 2 dogs that need to be boarded and a cat that need to be taken care of if we went anywhere, and it's really expensive. So my parents, her parents, and everyone else can just come here. But we don't have any room here because we have my office and then 2 bedroom kids and then ours. And that's it. And so anytime someone comes to stay, we move my son's bed out of his room, put it in my daughter's room, blow up a mattress, but that the new house will give us a little bit more extra room, and hopefully we're not on top of each other there quite as much. Smaller lot, but
how far away from where you're at now?
It's about 5 hours northeast, so it'll be up in northeast Tennessee, right next to the Great Smokies. It's on Boone Lake, not water or anything. It's
beautiful.
I'm like down the road from the water, but it's not like a private house that's on the water or anything like that. It's a subdivision that's built right there on the edge of the lake.
You a fisherman? You do the nature thing?
So I used to be a huge fisherman, so much so that a goal before doing all this was to become a professional bass fisherman.
Of course, and you probably will be someday.
I told you, man. My motto is just like, "What the fuck, go for it!" Right?
Why not? Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah,
sure, okay.
That's so. I was very, very adamant in trying to become a professional bass fisherman. So much so that I was entering into tournaments, and I was working on getting my own boat. At the time, I didn't have one, so I would register in tournaments as a non-boater and get partnered up with another guy. So he would have to take the front of the boat, I would take the rear of the boat, and we were allowed to work whatever we could from the rear, but I couldn't cross that line. But when I became vegan, it kind of goes against vegan would stand for. So. It really sucks because I love fishing, but it was my decision. It was my decision to go
catch
vegan
and release and no barbed hooks.
It's still.
Hey, I was just swimming around, and all of a sudden I have this metal piece of hook through my head.
Yeah, and I'm not here to look down on anybody who loves to fish.
Yeah,
I love to fish, guys, and I love to eat steaks. I love to eat eggs. Love to drink milk, and I love all those things like you guys do. It's just I made a choice not to have them, but I now have to find an alternative way. So it's just a little.
Well, what do you do? Do you water ski or do you wakeboard or anything like that? Will you be able to use the lake to your benefit?
I would like to one day. I would love to have a couple of Sea-Doos.
Footage?
Yeah, I'd love to rip around some Sea-Doos, or something like that, and have some fun there. But no, I don't. My my goal in life right now is not hobbies. Unfortunately, my hobby is just my work and my family, and that's kind of weird to say, but like that's the focus right now. I have this goal. I don't have time for anything else right now. Everything else has got to be put aside. No, don't spend money on anything. Let's just work towards this goal.
I think it's true though. I mean, if you have the kind of job that you have, you never work a day in your life. I mean, and I don't mean that you don't work your ass off, because
yeah, I know, yeah.
But you get to do something that you're passionately in love with, and I think that that is like the gift that everybody's searching for. So it's awesome that you get to put that kind of passion and time into it. But you're right; it leaves no time for anything else.
Yeah, no.
Nothing.
I mean, I would love this. I would love to tell you that I feel like I don't work a day in my life, but that is 100% false. I fucking feel every minute of it.
Yeah. Well, so you have enough energy to do it. I mean, if you couldn't, if you didn't have what you were doing, I think you would go nuts. I mean, what would you do with all that energy?
I will say that when I broadcast, that doesn't feel like work to me. That just feels like me. That's my pleasure. I love broadcasting.
But that's not the easy part. That's not the easy
that is
part.
not.
Nope.
There's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of preparation for broadcasting. A ton of fucking notes. There's just so many different things that go into it. But I love that. That to me is my main passion with DRL. The other stuff that I do is not necessarily the main passion. It's the helping that's the passion. But there's a lot of office work. There's a lot of busy work. There's a lot of little things. So I would love to say I didn't feel like I work my ass off. I think for sure. And
you definitely do. And I think we all get a benefit from that. So we all thank you tremendously, because I think it's a thankless job. I know you're behind the scenes all the time, and I think it's an afterthought. Like, we just get to enjoy all these wonderful things that happen in the DRL, and nobody's saying, "Hey, thank you, man." And KaNoodle, thank you. I mean, you're the man for sure.
I appreciate that.
A couple questions.
Let me answer your question though, because I didn't actually give you the. I think if I were to tell you my one hobby is just cooking, is baking or cooking. Like that's at the end of the night when the kids go to bed, like it's 10:20 right now. Kids are gonna go to bed. Wife is probably gonna fall asleep shortly after because she doesn't stay up too late, and everyone will be asleep, and this house will be quiet, and I can shut my mind off, and I can just make some cookies, or I can make some fresh bread, or I can make some garlic bread, or whatever the fuck I want to make. I think that's my hobby. I think that if there was one out there, that would be the one thing.
I love it. And the benefit too, you get to eat it when you're done, right?
Oh yeah. And there's no one around to take it from me.
A couple housekeeping questions, and I'll let you go, because I know you got a ton of stuff.
It's fine, man. I'm having a good time.
Game modes for DRL Sim. Is there ever going to be like a fighting mode, like a shooting down mode?
Question.
There's this new thing with a trigger. That foot trigger thing is pretty darn popular right now.
Yeah.
Any plans on a fighting mode for the DRL?
Yeah, I'll say yes. Are there
Cool.
Are there immediate plans like in the next few months or so? No. Ultimately, I think game modes as a whole have always been on our table. They've always been there since the beginning of us making a sim. We wanted to, just like everyone else. I mean, if there's anything that anyone in this industry has thought about, we've thought about it too. And I don't mean that in a conceited way. I mean that
sure.
we agree. We feel we
Right.
think the same. We think the same as everybody else, right? If you guys want something in the sim, there's a really good chance that we probably want it too, or have wanted it and then laid out the logistics and realized it's not a feasible thing, or it doesn't make sense from a business standpoint to do that. Therefore, we've moved on, but we still want it. We probably won't put it, but you know what I mean? Like, there are things we want to put in the sim, but we are a very small sim team. We're 5 or 6 dudes spread across the world working remote. We've been doing that since the beginning, not before COVID. Working remote's been our thing. We built the sim working remote. A handful of us guys spread across the world building this. And building it on the tightest budget we could possibly do. So there are some things that we may want to put in the sim that if we put it, it's going to cost us so much money, and it's probably not going to bring us a return, or it's not going to make all the users extremely happy. Like, it'll only market towards these select handful of people that like to do X, Y, and Z or whatever. So we have to think smart about all that, what we put into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like 3D flying, for example. We get a lot of people that ask about that. Well, I shouldn't say a lot. We get a good handful every once in a while, people that ask about 3D flying. And I would love to have 3D flying in them, but does it make sense right now? Maybe not, right? How much is it going to cost me to put that in there? And is it going to draw an audience? Is it going to really make the game or sim more pleasurable as a whole? Is there a big drive for it? And there's not yet. I think it's getting there. And so, we have to think about all those things. It's not to say that we won't put 3D flying. I'm sure we will.
Right.
But it's when
Right.
and when makes the most sense. So
do you think
game
virtual
game
reality
modes.
is here to stay?
What's that?
Do you think virtual reality is here to stay? I mean, do you think that's where it's going in The Sims? Or I mean, it's hard to tell.
It certainly does feel like virtual reality is becoming a more and more prevalent thing, which I think, look, let's be real, it is. But just like any technology, it's growing, right? Will it stick? I don't know. There are certain restrictions to virtual reality that may not be there. Once they figure out how to make the technology amazing at a low price point that makes it affordable for everybody, boom, it's I'll have a virtual. I don't have any virtual reality stuff right now, but once it becomes affordable, I'll probably have it.
Yeah. Have you
And
messed around with it?
I have, yeah. I've played a couple shooter games. One of the guys who used to work for DRL is one of our editors. He's still a video editor, but he's working for a different company. But he does a lot of virtual reality tournaments with a shooter game called Onward, and so he's on a team with Onward, and I don't know, I think he's still, but he has this virtual reality set up, and it's really amazing. So I got to play it, and it's a lot of fun. And while I think it was amazingly fun, I just don't have the time or goal right now to play things. So, but I think virtual reality won't go anywhere. I think it'll stay. But to go back to your game mode question, they're in the works. Different various types of game modes in the works.
That would be so awesome. So it's a good investment for me to start working on my foot switch.
But I don't know. Maybe
start coordinating that, because man, that's like one extra thing here, and I get to worry about. I got to start tapping my foot in this thing.
Well, remember when I say game mode, it doesn't necessarily mean that. Well, it can mean many things.
Sure. Let's just talk about the possibilities of what it could mean. What are some of the possibilities? I mean, we're not saying that that's what it is. There's just possible. So what's possible?
Yeah, I mean,
out there? What's possible?
I mean, a lot of things are possible. Like different race modes, different types of flying, different types of competition with flying.
Two-man team type thing, team flying, or trade-off, pit stop type stuff.
Yeah, sure. All those things, right? Sure.
Crash physics. I crashed into another drone and it fell out of the sky.
Well, we actually have that, and we don't have it on in the sim for a reason. But we actually built the full crash system when it was just the Racer 3 in the sim. Actually, no, the Racer 2. Where the drone would crash, and you can actually crash into each other, and it would knock each other out. But we had a problem with it where it would only work with one drone, the other. So one drone would be affected, but the other one wouldn't. Rocket League with drones, right? They're probably flying. Like, I mean, there's lots of different things that we have these concepts that we're working at the table, or we're trying to figure out how we can make these things work. And none of them are off the table. They're all on the table, and we're just kind of moving the pieces about on the table to kind of go, okay, this one would go here, and this one might go here, and where would this one go? This one, does it make more sense to move this one here? And when I say that, I'm using that term loosely, not just with time, but with ideas and putting them together and realizing which ideas work better sooner rather than later rather than sooner. But lots of different ones. So they can mean any one of those things, whether it's fighting, whether it's dog fighting like planes do or whatever, but or whether it's racing or pickup races or like relay kind of thing or infinite lap kind of thing, time trial kind of, lots of different ways. Hide and seek kind of games, seek and find, capture the flag, bombs kind of stuff, whatever. Like just so many different ideas that they're all out there on the table.
Yeah. And I guess it does come down to financially, does it make sense? What are the goals? Are we trying to grow what are we trying to attract when we do this?
Yeah.
What's the end game?
Yeah.
And I think that's, for me, the learning experience is, oh, that's why they don't do all that stuff. Because it costs money and it might not make sense for them. It doesn't align with some of their goals. You mentioned it's a 5-man team, 6-man team.
I think there's only 6 of us. And I'm not even a coding developer. I'm one of the developers, but I don't do any coding. I don't write any code. I don't know how to write any code at all. It's all, for the most part, pretty foreign. However, I do know how to read, the logs very well, because I deal with the tech support side of things, I deal with the community engagement, and I deal with a lot of the design, the creative design of things. So I've learned a good deal of it, but I don't actually write any code of any sorts. But as far as the developers go, I think there's 5, and then 4 project manager. So 5 or 6.
Yeah, that it's incredible that they do such an amazing job with just such a small team. I'm always interested in the actual code writing process, because I have no idea how that would work. I mean, I know that you go to a code editor and you start typing, and you're typing in things that it understands. But man, to have your brain be able to say what I want to have happen at the end, and here's the code that makes that happen, just seems so like, how the heck do people know that stuff? So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
interesting
exactly.
to me. Do you know how many people code, just out of curiosity? Is it a 2-man code team, or 3 guys that are coding their life away? Or do they have creative input? Or are they the techie nerd guy that just says, okay, you want the drone to fly this fast? Okay, I'll type that in. I make that happen. Or they feedback and say, no, you want it to fly this way, or how much?
Yeah, it's a very
input do they
passionate
have?
team.
Yeah,
it's a very passionate team. Gustavo, Eduardo, Marco, QA guy, Thomas started with us, and then Matt, our project manager, me. So that comes out to 7, but not all of us are actually writing code. Only 4 of the guys are writing code.
Wow. 4 code writers wrote that entire thing. That's just mind-boggling.
No, not 4 only. That's how many we have currently. We have, at times when we're working on a bigger project of the sim, we have brought in teams of guys to help us work with these things. It is not just just the handful of us that are working on the sim team every day. It's when we needed to, like, if we were working on some kind of heavy big map design, and Gustavo needed more guys to work with him, arts and different designing, assets or whatever, we'll bring in more guys to help work with him if we need it. And so, those are things that we don't think about on the outside of game development side of things, is that like if you want to build that amazing, gorgeous map, you can't have one dude do it in a short amount of time. It's not going to come out the way you need to. You got to have there's an art team that's involved, right? And there's guys that are working on certain portions of the art, and certain guys working on certain portions of code, and so it takes multiple people. But those guys cost money, right? You got to pay them salary. You're not going to do it for free. So those things come into factor, like how long is it going to take us, and how many guys does it take us to work, and how much, a lot of different things go into that play. But yeah, no, we have had bigger teams, small teams at different times, but our main core guys, that's us.
Wow. Yeah, it's so fascinating to me, the behind the scenes stuff that goes into making something like this happen. Well,
yeah.
Tony, one of the comments in the feed here was, if every support was like TK, that's you, the world would be a better place. And I think one thing that I've learned the last couple months, as I've been getting more and more into the DRL, into the sim, and kind of into the community, is how well loved you are and how well respected you are in this community. And everybody says really great things about you, and I don't think you have in the world. So
I could be quite the asshole sometimes. So
things have to get done, right? Things have to get done.
They do, yeah. They do.
I think you're such an amazing role model and such a great example for all of us out there. And I think you really lead the way on how to grow the sport and to be an ambassador of the sport. So I hope a lot of people follow your lead out there, and you're such a wonderful role model and example for so many people. So I want to just commend you on just how impressed I am with you overall. You're just an amazingly cool guy, and that's really
Thank
awesome.
you, man. I appreciate it.
I'm gonna let you go, dude. I don't have anything else to ask you. You've been super generous with your time. I can't believe that you stayed for the entire second hour of my show.
I'm happy to.
Thank you. Beyond words, I can't say anything beyond my heart. Really, thank you. So
thank you, man. I appreciate that. It's awesome of you. And like, I mean, look, you're doing it, right? I mean, you are those things you asked me, you're doing that right now. Right? What you're doing is bringing this information. You're helping other people right now, and you don't even realize it.
I just want more pilots. I want more people to fly with. I want the sport to grow. And I thought, how can I help the sport grow? What can I do to make it more people get into it and not be so intimidated by it? Because, man, when I got into it, it was like your experience. I had no idea what I was doing, and it was frustrating. And I don't want anybody to have – I want them to say, oh, I learned how to fly, and it's fun, right?
Yeah.
So that's all I'm about. But, Tony, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being on my show. You are the man, the best interview I've ever done, hands down. I can see why you instantly get the job. You're the man, dude. So thank you.
Thank you.
Send out a shout out of love to your wife. She's an amazing person. She gets all the credit. Behind every good man is a really solid woman.
Oh,
you got
you
one.
have no idea. That's for sure.
Good for you, man. Good for you. So go hug her and kiss her and go bake some cookies, man.
I'm gonna. We don't have any in the jar right now, so I think I'm gonna have to. And tomorrow's Christmas Eve, so.
You're the man, dude. Well, thank you so much again. I really, really appreciate it. I'm gonna let you go and have a great day. I will see you in the sim probably tomorrow, hopefully.
Sounds good. See you guys. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.